Oh my. I am here to tell you a story about an old man and a story about a young man. I'd like to start, first of all, by telling you that I was born in this wonderful state, and I began my life in Laramie, Wyoming, and I intend to end my life in Wyoming because this is a special place with special people that have become a part of me, that I am a part of them. To be anywhere else would be to be like ripping part of me out of the tree that we all are part of. I remember 60 years ago when I began, over 60 years ago, when I began practicing law. I don't think there are very many of you who were around then. And at that time, if you were going to be a great lawyer, you just couldn't be a person who represented the riffraff. You know, the riffraff was us. The riffraff were the people. The riffraff were the ordinary people. If you were to become a great lawyer, you had to represent big money. You had to represent power. Well. I wanted to become a great lawyer. And so I began to learn how, because you don't learn how to try a case in law school, you only learn law. And then they kick you out, and you are then a licensed lawyer, and then people can come to you and pay you money to try a case, and you don't know how to try the case. That's kind of the legal education that we got and the training that we got and the trainings today that lawyers are still getting. Let us be true about this. It's the non-training. It's the crime of our educational system that is so inverted that it cannot see what it is doing. And so, 60-some years ago, here comes this young whippersnapper that can win the world, and I learned special ways by stacking up some losses like this. And I learned the ways that I could win on behalf of big money, on behalf of large corporations, on behalf of power. I was on the side of power. I was on the side of those who needed me, and they started to hire me across the land. This little country lawyer from Wyoming. And so it was. Year after year, win after win, poor people, mothers who had lost children because of negligent care, fathers who were killed or maimed, who could never work a day of their life again, people who were lying in paraplegic beds, unable to move, because of the negligence, the carelessness, even the despise of other people who I represented, and they walked out of our courts of justice with nothing. One day, I was given a case to defend, brought by an old man. He was a nice old man. I could see that from the beginning. He had a kind face. And he had been run into by this lady who I was assigned to defend, and behind her was all of this big money. And nobody would be permitted to know that under our system. The money behind the client that you are suing is not permitted to go to the jury. So the jury just saw this little lady there. And what did I do to that nice old man? Well, let me tell you something. He had worked all his life in a stinking refinery. Your entire working life in the smell and the grime and the grease and looking forward to the day when you could retire. And that's what he did. He looked for the day he could retire and take his grandchildren out into the beautiful wilderness that you and I enjoy almost every day. That was his goal. But Apple Annie was drunk, and she ran into him, and she crippled him so badly that he could hardly walk. And every step was a painful step. And I began to do my thing with this old man. And I did things in cross-examination. I was kind to him, but I would show little discrepancies in what he had said in a deposition, which is a sworn statement, and what he was saying now. And they weren't big discrepancies, but one of the things that I had learned to do was to take little things and make them big, and to take big things and make them little, until it came to the point where the jury returned a verdict against the old man. Now, what did that mean? That meant that he would go the rest of his life in pain. The doctor said he would never recover from his pain and his crippledness. He would never be able to go out into the wilderness like we do with his grandchildren. His dream was crushed. And in place of his dream was given pain and disability for the rest of his days, because I represented Apple Annie, who had all of this powerful money behind her. After the trial, my little chickadee, Imogene, and I went to the grocery store to get some goodies to celebrate. And I happened to look behind, and we're waiting to be checked out. And here was this old man behind me. Do you understand? And I came face to face with him now, like this. And I said, "I'm sorry, sir, what happened to you today?" And his face was gentle, in his eyes quiet, and even loving. And he said to me, "Oh, that's all right, Mr. Spence. You were just doing your job." And that evening, I said to Imogene, "Is that my job? To deprive people who are entitled to justice out of justice because I can?" So that night, I laid in bed, twisting and turning and thinking, and I could see that old man's face. And then I could see his loving, caring, forgiving eyes. And in the morning, I fired all of the companies that I represented. And it was not easy for me, but I began to find ways to make up for all of my, well, should I call it what it was? I found ways to make up for all of my sins. The sin of depriving people out of justice when they were entitled to it. And I thought to myself, I have to do more because there are no colleges in this country, and there are none today. Hear me say this. There are no colleges, no universities in this country today that teach people's lawyers. That is, lawyers who fight for the rights of people like you, ordinary people who go down the life of their lives doing the right thing, and suddenly one day they wake up and they have been injured, or their loved ones have been injured, or they've been charged with crimes that they haven't committed. It never happens to any of us, does it? Until it happens. And I established this college called Trial Lawyers College, and it is a pro bono, tax-free institution that is nonprofit, makes no profit, and we take only cases. We try only lawyers who represent people. We don't represent corporations. We don't represent big money. We don't represent anybody except ordinary people, just people. And I'm still fighting. And I expect to continue to fight for the rest of my days. And so now, what is this all about, this talk? What is the bottom line that I'm trying to illustrate to you? I want you to see the pebble. The pebble is the old man who said to me, "That's all right, Mr. Spence. You were just doing your job." It is the pebble of the old man who looked at me and could forgive me, who could still love me. And that pebble has been thrown in to the quiet waters of history. And that pebble from that old man has caused wave after wave after wave. We have touched thousands and thousands of people. And those lawyers, we have trained thousands and thousands of them. And they have represented and are fighting for the rights of ordinary people. And they have done it with thousands of them. How many the simple pebble of an old man who had been deprived of justice could love and forgive, and the power of that as it goes on and on